right, we are here today with Drew, a substitute teacher at Wake County Public Schools. Um,
Hello.
Hi, Drew.
Hi.
You are graduating with your bachelor's in science next semester from ECU. Something going on?
Oh, no, I'm just trying to make it so that it's not this big white thing behind me.
Always something
That's the
going
window.
on with the schools. We have a visitor here. She wants to interview you. Say hi, Drew. All right.
Hi. Hello, Nori. Hey, Bootsy.
Okay. We are anyway, you are graduating with your bachelor's in science next semester from ECU.
That's correct.
Uh-huh. So do you want to be a teacher when you graduate?
Not so much a teacher as much as a career advisor. Um, Trying to help the kids that kind of fall through the cracks and don't really have any guidance in knowing what they want to do once they exit the school system. There's a whole bunch of kids today that don't really value the academic side of things and think that they're going to be able to waltz through life. And I'm here to tell them that it's not as easy as they might think it is.
Okay. Well, we need more people like you in the schools for sure. So, so tell me about your job. So what does a normal day look like for you? You're a substitute teacher, so that means you work at multiple schools, right?
That's right. So there's a website that you go on and you choose pretty much where you want to work. I try to limit mine only to high schools because there's 4 classes in a day and they're long, 85-minute periods. There's only, like I said, there's only 4 of them, so it goes by pretty quick. You get out at 2 o'clock. Those are kind of the main reasons, but mostly just because of, like I said, I'm trying to work with the more mature population of kids that are, going off into the real world. So anyway, what a day might look like for me is you show up, you sign in, and then depending on which class you've signed up for, they give you like a little schedule of where you need to be, what rooms you need to be in. Sometimes you have planning periods like this for right now. Other times you don't get a planning period, and because there's such a need for substitutes, you end up having to work multiple jobs in one day. That being said, then you get into the room and you take attendance, you find where the teacher's plans are for the day, you make sure everybody signs the attendance sheet, log it into Power Schools, and then pretty much it becomes a self-guided class where you just make sure the kids stay on task because, as you know, today everything is kind of virtual. Most of the assignments are all posted in Google Classroom or on Canvas. And so, you just kind of help them with that, get them to what they need to be working on, and just go from period to period from there.
So
Help out when you can.
we've all seen movies and stuff where substitute teachers get picked on and they don't get the best of the students. Have you encountered any of that?
Um, yeah, that's one of the reasons why I like working at the high school level is because at the maturity level of like 14 and up, they've kind of gotten some of their naughtiness per se out of their system. However, yesterday I'm in a BST class today, and that is a behavior support technician. So these are kids that have behavior problems, and yesterday they were having a pillow fight,
Oh my.
and I had to kind of get them to stop.
Why have they
And
got pillows, first of all?
oh, well, because this is a emotional behavior disorder room where kids come to mellow out. You can't really tell right now, but I don't have any of the lights on in here. There's a bunch of lamps, and it's kind of like a chill room. So there's a chill corner over there with a bunch of pillows and couches and stuff. And there's actually a wall, like a partition in between me and them. So once they're out of sight of the teacher, they tend to take more rope, I guess you could say, and play with it. So yesterday was kind of a, a bummer of a class because they were not respecting me. You were asking if the substitute encounters that kind of stuff. And yes, I do encounter disrespect probably once every 2 weeks or so. But you got to choose your battles. And one thing they tell you in training is don't go to their level. You're an adult, they're children still. They are teenagers and they don't have any frontal temporal development in their brain, so they don't have any empathy and they don't think about consequences. So you have to remember that they're just firing from the hip because they need something. And so it's my job to kind of figure out what they need. They're acting out because they want attention and whatnot. And so I don't really think of the disrespect so much as disrespect. I just kind of like, try to view it as, well, what's bothering this guy that's causing him to act this way? Because he doesn't want to act bad. I mean, who wants to act bad? Um, especially, I mean, for
He
students,
wants the repercussions of acting bad, right?
yeah, and we were all students at one point, and it felt so arbitrary to be confounded to a school day, and it was at the end of the day. Everybody gets anxious at the end of the day, so that's when I gave my report to the administration. They were like, "Well, it's the end of the day. At least it didn't happen early, and then you're like stressing over it all day."
So let's talk about pay. In the starting salary for North Carolina teachers is $37,000, and it rises based on experience to $54,000. So let's talk about obviously as a substitute, you have less work. You don't have to do homework or you don't have to set up lesson plans and whatnot. So you would probably get less pay.
Yeah,
So you don't need the qualifications. That's why you're in school right now, right? Is to get those qualifications.
that's right. In North Carolina, to be a teacher, you have to be state licensed. Not only do you have to obtain a license, but you have to have a bachelor's degree from an accredited university. So whether that be a degree in education, a degree in science, psychology, art, business, whatever, you get your degree in science, say biology, and then you go get what's called an alternative licensure, where they license you to become a teacher. And there's a lot of it's a lot of litigation stuff about knowing the rules. And in North Carolina, we have what they call the core curriculum standards, that if you're a public school, you have to adhere to those standards. And that's a lot of what that accreditation is knowing, if you go to like North Carolina core curriculum standards, put that in your search bar, you can see all the different standards that the teachers have to know.
But that's for $37,000. What do you make and what do you have to do to be a substitute?
Okay, so to become a substitute, there is a thing called the effective substitute training, and that is I want to say 4 hour course, 4 or 8 hour course that you have to take. It's a bunch of videos and some questions, and it's about classroom management and what to expect at the school as a sub. And then that course, if you've done any kind of coaching or teaching before, kind of comes pretty naturally. It's not like difficult by any standards. To take this course, you only have to have a high school diploma, and you have to pass a background check, and then you have to pass also a health check. You got to go get tested for tuberculosis and other airborne pathogens, pretty much show that you're healthy, able-bodied person. And then you go to an orientation, which consists of procedures dealing with emergencies, whether it be fire alarms, lockdown procedures, sexual harassment procedures, all the kinds of new world um, kind of mannerisms that we all should abide by, because back when we were growing up, I'm sure teachers got away with a lot more. Um, but how much do I get paid? So you get paid, um, well, we just got a raise. I want to say it's about $115 after taxes per shift. And that's a whole day. You can work half days if you want. There are some teachers that only take half days and you get paid half the amount, but I don't ever take half days. Um, and so because there is such a giant teacher shortage, if you um, if you open yourself up to, for instance, in Wake County, there's something like 2,000 schools or something like that. Or no, I'm sorry, 2,200 schools. So there's thousands of teachers that need positions filled. So, I mean, you can work full time, as I do. I work every day of the week as a substitute, and it pays me all right.
Right. And you have people calling you
Yes, I get
all the time.
emails and text messages every day about, can you work for me? They're looking for, responsible adults to pretty much manage their students while they're away.
So there is a teacher shortage, but would you say there's also a substitute shortage?
Oh, definitely.
Mhm.
Today I'm at Cary High School, and I like to work here a lot because I live down the road, but I also like to work over at Athens. And a common thing I see at Athens, for instance, last week they had 28 teachers out, and only 7 substitutes there to sub. So, do the math. You get all these classes that don't have teachers. They end up getting sent to like the media center in the library and just take up space and make it hard for the teacher who's got a class in the library.
So why is that, do you think? If you don't have to really, you took 4 hours of training, and you only have to have a health background check, you don't have to have any certifications, and you get paid okay, why do we not have enough substitutes?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, you got to look at like desire to do it. North Carolina ranks at the bottom nationally as far as teacher pay goes. So there's a giant stigma about becoming a teacher. I ask all of my students when I say, "Hey, how's everybody doing today? Does anybody want to be a teacher when they graduate?" Every one of them, I have not once. I've been doing this since 2018. I have not once had any student say I want to be a teacher, and I asked them why, and they're like, because teachers don't get paid enough. And to be honest, when I was 17 or 18, I wanted to be a teacher, and my friends talked me out of it. They're like, you're never going to get paid. And why would you go to school your whole life to stay in school? You hate school, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, I mean, I like helping people and I like seeing people learn. Like when you watching somebody learn something and there's something, and to know that you were, kind of partly responsible for that, it's very, becoming feeling. Like it's nice to know that you were helpful in helping somebody. So why or is there a shortage? I would say because of pay and probably knowledge behind it. I have a friend who got certified to become the teacher. He went and did the orientation, but then he has not done his physical exam and doesn't want to pay for the background check because he doesn't want to have to pay for something and he's going to have to pay to see the doctor too. He'd rather work retail. And, if this is a pretty cake job, part of the reason why I am a substitute right now is because, like you said, I'm a senior at East Carolina. I bring my homework with me to school. I, for instance, right now I've got a planning period. This one's an hour long, so essentially I've got an hour of quiet time where I can sit quietly and get my homework done. Usually I'm finished with my homework by lunchtime on Monday or Tuesday for the whole week. And that's the number one kicker for me. Like, if I wasn't in school, I'd probably be doing something else that had better pay and didn't have to be at work at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
But I can sit and do my homework at my pace and get paid for it. So,
So let's talk about some of the harder parts of the job. You talked about some of the benefits of the job. But let's talk about some things that people may be fearful about. Let's talk about deviance, toxic behavior. We're going to talk about drug use, mental illness, misbehaving in class, criminal behavior, uncontrollable anger. These are the things I mean when I say toxic behavior. Do you see these things in the school?
um, no, to be honest. I had a fear in the beginning as a substitute, and I think that's why my friend doesn't want to become a substitute, is there's a misconception about what it's going to be like. If we all think back to our days in high school, you
Sitting
know,
on
you,
attack.
yeah, you will really only remember kind of the negative stuff more than the positive stuff. Um, and so the level of embarrassment or bullying or whatever you may have kind of lingering around in your brain is there when you're like, oh gosh, I'm going to go substitute at high school. So when I originally started, I started with the elementary school thinking, oh, I can handle a bunch of kids. I've worked with kids for 20 years. Ooh, no, not at school. I worked with kids outside of school. But anyway, let's get back to high school. So I was afraid to work in the high schools because I thought I was going to experience the same kind of riffraff or deviance that I did when I was in school. But, like they tell you in the training, you don't go to their level. You're an adult, you know what battles to choose and how to choose them. So, levels of deviance. I would say the biggest form of deviance we see is not following the rules. We don't really see bullying. You don't really see substance abuse. There is a problem, they say, with the kids vaping. I personally have not seen or smelled any vapes. But then again, I don't go into the public student bathrooms in the middle of the period. Occasionally, the fire alarm will go off and they'll say it was somebody vaping. I do hear the kids talking about some vape. You hear about it more than you see it. You definitely hear about um, other drug use, maybe. You hear them bring it up, but as soon as they notice that I start listening, they quickly change the subject and start texting each other. So, going back to the biggest form of deviance is they're all on their devices and they can't get away from their devices. Um, you tell that we have the whole policy is BYOD, bring your own device. All the assignments are online. The school has provided laptops for everybody, but the kids don't want to work with a laptop. They never plug them back into charge. So half the time the machines are dead. So they're working on their phones. Well, okay, so they're supposed to be over there working on their phone, and you walk over there and they're on Netflix or they're on YouTube or they're on TikTok. I would say the leading deviant thing that happens would be TikTok. Um,
Okay.
to
Not
be
too
honest,
bad, not too bad. But I mean, social
yeah,
media is a problem, right?
yeah, and then definitely, like for instance, the class that just left here um, a moment ago was a bunch of freshmen, and some of them, two of them were 14, and the other ones were 15, and they were talking about sexual orientation and using strong language towards each other and a very crude manner, essentially bullying to a degree one of the kids. And I have to interject and say, hey guys, would you want anybody talking to you that way? And how would you feel if three other kids started picking on you and teamed up against you? It's not cool. Like you go like that, start talking like that out on the bus. Society's not as friendly as the classroom. And so yeah, bullying is still a thing. But I think that only happens with like the younger group. If you get into the upperclassmen, like juniors and seniors, they've kind of got it figured out and are less aggressive towards each other.
So, that brings me to my next topic, guns. I mean, it's a big social issue. There have been gun school shootings. Everybody's worried about it. What have your experience been with guns in school? Have you ever seen anything like that? Are you fearful of it?
The thought of fear behind it is there always. I mean, like I said, I'm here at Cary High School. It was just 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, a student brought a weapon to school and he shot the toilet.
It's not
Which
funny.
everybody's,
Not funny at
it's
all.
not funny, but everybody's kind of like, where is this coming from? I don't know anything about it. My assumption or kind of my own judgment on it is it's probably a young one trying to be cool. He probably took the weapon from his parents. They probably don't know that he had it. Um, I can't say for that because I wasn't here that day. And I actually was scheduled to be here the following day, and I changed that because I didn't want to be in that environment where we have to talk about gun violence and stuff like that. I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer, you know,
Don't
like
bring a gun to school.
yeah, don't bring any weapons to school. This is a place of learning. Let's just, like don't when I was a student, if I brought my headphones to school, I got written up because I was told not to bring them to school again. Today, please put your headphones on. I don't want to hear your stuff. They're encouraged to, if you want to listen to music while you work, that's fine. If you need to watch YouTube and Khan Academy to brushing up on your math skills, that's fine. But please put your earbuds in, put some headphones on so that we don't bother other students.
So,
Um,
so with the, so how long have you been a substitute or working in
uh,
the schools?
oh, well, I started in 2018. From there, I picked up a position as a full-time teacher in a classroom or teacher's assistant. I did that for that entire year, and then I went back to substituting because it gives me the freedom to, you pick your job depending on where it is, location, and then class. I'm I'm not really picky about what class it is. This is a BST class, behavior support therapist, or technician. Next week I'm in consumer sciences. Yeah,
So in
just
4 years, you've seen one instance of gun violence.
yeah. I mean, I haven't even seen it. I saw it on the news. Now that you do hear about it, a kid brought a gun to Millbrook High School and somebody else had a weapon at another school, but I want to say it's less likely in this area of the world.
You mean the
If you're,
South?
well,
You're in the South.
like we're in Cary, North Carolina, Raleigh, North Carolina. It's kind of a bubble here of things. I'm not gonna jinx it or nothing, but
Right. Please don't.
I was just telling somebody last night that we're isolated. We got the mountains to our west and nothing to our north and nothing to our south. And I mean, yeah, we have Virginia and South Carolina, but nothing up
Okay.
there.
So no, not really heavy gun use, not really heavy substance abuse. What about mental illness? Do you see mental illness often?
Well, mental illness in the loose
Of course,
sense,
it's a spectrum, but
yeah,
you know,
absolutely. Then that being said, absolutely. You obviously you have the extended content or extended curriculum standards classes, which are like the adapted rooms. Everybody over there is labeled disabled. But within the general population of students, you have emotional behavior disorders, which is like the classroom I'm in today. I've got some students that come in here next period that um, they've got oh, what is it called? It's the one that I kind of gravitate towards social uh, I can't think of it right now. What is it when you defy the authority? Um,
authoritative disorder.
and yeah, it's like if you don't like being told what to do. I was always one of those kids that the teachers would tell me to jump, and I would be like, "Why?" Um, and they would be like, "Because," and I would figure out a way to do it on my own without jumping, per se. But you see a lot of that, like defiance, just because, especially as a substitute. Like I'm here to say, "Hey guys, it's not Friday, but today is supposed to be like Friday, and we're going to use this as a checkup to make sure you've got all of your stuff done. Can you show me your Google Classroom?" And they're like, "No." I'm like, "Come on, you need to show me this so I can tell your teacher that you're working." And they're like, "You're not the teacher." Um,
You're not my daddy.
yeah, like I encounter that.
Yes.
So I try to,
Defiance. Yeah,
yeah,
just
just straight, you're not my teacher. I don't know you. Stranger danger. I have to do that every day. And, I'm starting to get a reputation of the students who do know me. I just had a really good discussion with a student last period about school and college and things, and she will remember me. And if I have her in another class later this year, she can tell the other kids, well, hey, this is a substitute we can be good with because I tell them every time, if you're a good class, I can be a good sub. You start acting up, I start I start writing names down. I don't want to write anybody's name down, uh, but the ball is in their hands.
So that's what you can do. You can write somebody's name down, but what happens if
Yeah, I mean, I leave a
that's all
note.
the power you have?
Well, I mean, I can go call an administrator,
Sure.
and I have the power to make a phone call, and they'll be down here in a moment to deal with it. They tell us not to engage in any kind of confrontation. It's not in our responsibilities. We weren't trained to deal with confrontation. There is a thing that you can take that's called like crisis management training um, that they offer through the schools, and you go to a class and they tell you how to disengage a kid or bring them down, aggression replacement stuff. Um,
So those are who does that? Do you have counselors, school resource officers? What support staff do you guys have?
okay, so each grade has a principal and vice principal. They kind of act as the admins for the grade. They're kind of the counselors. I would like to say that, again, going back into North Carolina, being at the bottom of the barrel for education, the funding continuing to be cut year after year. There are no longer something that we had when we were in school. We had school nurses and we had school counselors and school psychologists. None of that exists anymore. Um, there's not a school nurse, or if there is, it's an admin that has a nursing degree. Um, if there's a counselor here, they're like the advising counselor. They're not like an emotional counselor. Then there is the school psychologist, but that's not per like school. This is the psychologist for the district.
Oh.
So I think we're over here in District 9. It's the same psychologist that goes to all of the schools that are included in that district. And those people generally are like, from what I've observed, they're the psychologist for the more severe cases of disability. We'll have students with learning disabilities and cognitive impairment and vision problems and speech problems. And they have teams that will come around and, ask the students how they're doing in school and stuff and test them to see how well they're learning.
So you do have school resource officers though, right?
Oh, yes. And we do have
Police, that's police.
yeah, there is a school resource officer here. He's been here since when I went to school back in the 90s. So he's kind of like a community person. Everybody knows him. He gets a lot of respect. He's kind of the guy that when the admin is called for any kind of trouble, just his presence helps kind of tone it down. Having a cop standing there, like, you could go to jail today.
So what happens if you misbehave multiple times? Do you get sent to an alternative school? Do you get
Okay.
kicked out? Like what
Yeah,
happens?
there's definitely a process. Usually you get away with a couple of warnings. We have what's called an alternative learning center. In the school, there's usually like this room has the chill out corner. You can have kids that are getting excited or anxious about something, and then they get overworked up, and then they have to be removed from the classroom. You take them to one of these rooms, and they're allowed to chill out. If it's a serious offense, then there will be a referral to the discipline office. There's like an in-school suspension room. After X amount of in-school suspension referrals for the severity of the infraction, you'll get sent to out of school suspension. And if that becomes a severe case, then yeah, there is an alternative school um, that they suggest kids go to um, that are for pretty much all the bad kids. Uh, and there are more kind of like resource officers there, a lot more perhaps muscle type looking individuals because the kids that end up over there are a lot more physically active when it comes to their deviant altercations. You can have kids that get irate, they have emotional behavior disorders, and they can't control their anger. You know, if a kid picks up a chair and throws it, you're going to go to that school. They're not going to let you stay here.
Okay, so we've got about 5 more minutes left, so we're gonna wrap this up. I want to say thank you, but I do want to ask, do you think the system works? Do you feel like it's generally effective? Are kids learning things? Are they safe?
Well, that's a loaded one. Are they safe? Yes. Um,
The schools are safe.
I think the schools are safe. You know, nowadays they've got lockdown procedures having to deal with some sort of event um, where they all the doors are only lockable by the inside, and they put banners up over the windows and turn all the lights out. As far as does it work, that is to be determined on the student it's working for. There are lots of kids who, yeah, they know the rules and they get the attention and they take the tests and they do their homework and then they follow every guidance and they follow their parents and whatever. And they go through the system just fine. Does it work for everybody? No. The Hold No Child Left Behind Act help create the core curriculum standards that we have here in North Carolina. And if you go and research those, you will see that some of that stuff's a little bit outdated. You've got kids that aren't or are not academically minded that are not going to be um, prestigious colleges or getting any kind of college degree in general. What is the purpose of them being required to take high level algebra to graduate? What's the purpose of them learning a foreign language to graduate if they're never gonna, I'm not going to say that nobody's never going to go to college, but there are plenty of students out here today that don't have the desire to go to college, the means to do so, or the academic prowess to do so. So there's a giant wand that the county waves saying that this is the curriculum and it's for everybody. And you'll hear plenty of people say that they won't work for Wake County schools because of that. Like there's not individualized instruction, which needs to happen. Every kid learns differently. Every kid works differently. Every student behaves differently, and you really need to have the resources there to accommodate that. Um, because, like I said, everybody learns differently. I was a student who didn't really learn in the classroom, but you give me the book, I'll sit down and read it, and I learned that way. So,
So in 2 minutes, tell me what could be done to what you believe, if you could do anything, you could do to, what would you change about the schools? Or what could, what would make your job easier?
what would make my job easier as a substitute? I don't really know. Um, for the regular teachers, there is what they call the IEP, an individualized education program that every student has. Um, that's pretty specific. There's a lot of paperwork, and it has to do with these these core curriculum standards. Every lesson plan has to align with the core curriculum standards, and so teachers have to spend a lot of time. Like, okay, say you want to teach them about uh, I don't know, the most recent election, right? Um, you'd have to find the lesson core standard in the politi politics or social studies area, and then you have to put that on your lesson, and that has to be approved by the administration. And there's a lot of like red tape, if you will, to being a teacher. And that's probably why you're seeing less and less teachers. And you're seeing teachers leave teaching to go to other careers because the paperwork outweighs the instruction. And that's not why we all became teachers.
So
In
what
fact,
you would
well,
change about the public school system would be that.
I would reform the curriculum and be less, I would almost make it optional. Like, do these kids need the CCS, or can we, can we kind of try other means to learning? Like, they have to learn math. Like, I mean, let's be honest, how much math are you doing on a daily basis? Like, I get it, knowing calculus is knowing how to do problem solving, but like, I'm not
So
not
what would you replace calculus with?
uh um I don't know, aggression management, like or stress management, um problem solving. Take a class on, it doesn't have to be
Critical
mathematics,
thinking,
critical thinking,
like
creative writing,
finance. These are all math.
creative writing, learning how to express yourself in times of stress instead of dealing with the stress another way. You can be expressive, and that might release some of your whatever might be bothering you.
Okay, well, great. And I believe this wraps it up. You have anything else you want to say? I got about 1 minute left.
Um, yeah, go out and become a teacher, man. We need more teachers out there. It's actually a really fun job. Yeah, it's got its down moments, but you get to interact and connect with students, and you're making a difference in their life, and that's something that you take home with you, and that is very endearing, and it's why I got into it. I started substituting just as like a job, and then I fell in love with it. So
Well, as a community member, I want to say thank you for doing what you do. And also, thank you for taking this time with me. I appreciate it.
you're welcome.
And have a good day.
You do the same. Thank you.
See you later.
Goodbye.
Bye bye.